Hello, everyone. My name is Thomas Liquard. I want to thank you for taking the time today to listen to my presentation. I'll be presenting a company called Immuron, which is an oral immunotherapy company. I want to thank Redshift for giving us the opportunity to present to you today. First, I will be making forward-looking statements. We have our disclaimer on the slide number 2, and on the next slide, I will start our story on the slide number 3. So very quickly on the corporate overview, there are a few things that I want people to remember about Immuron today. Number one is we have a very unique and leverageable platform. It is a proprietary oral immunotherapy technology that targets the microbiome and inflammation. We have a broad utility across a lot of diseases, so it gives us a lot of very long runway. We've attracted leading collaborations across the world, including the NIH, and renowned experts in fatty liver disease, like Arun Sanyal, who is our PI on the trial, now as well in our C. difficile program, which is an anti-infectives. And so a very nice validation of our technology, our approach, and our platform. We have a strong pipeline in high value indications with what we believe are leading competitive profiles. We have a phase 2 in NASH, again, fatty liver disease, that we expect the enrollment to end in 2Q 2016 with the data at the end of 16, very early 17. We really modulate the inflammatory pathway here for NASH, and we just do things that other companies that have other NASH compounds just really cannot do, including reversing fibrosis, and we have a lot of evidence to really support that. We're very excited about NASH, our NASH program, because obviously there are no treatments approved today. It is expected to be about a $40 billion market by 2025. So we're very excited about our phase 2 program in NASH. Likewise, we are very excited about C. difficile program. It is targeting toxin B, which is the major pathway to target for that disease. It is in a preclinical stage. We are going to wrap up our preclinical program by the end of the year, and then we'll move on to our phase 1/2 early next year. We are developing the vaccine with a world-renowned team at Monash University in Australia, and as I said, we're expecting to start our clinical program in the early half of 2016. We're not only we have obviously a strong pipeline. We're also generating revenues through a product called Travelan, which is a traveler's diarrhea asset. It is being marketed in Australia, in Canada. We just launched it in the US, and it's doing very well, and we're expecting that to contribute to growing revenues for us. And besides, despite all of that, we are significantly undervalued today, and there's a substantial upside that exists for investors, and I'll just show you some data in a couple of slides that leads to that. On our next slide, on slide number 4, really, when we think about Immuron, the investment highlights, as I mentioned, we are massively undervalued. We have two phase 2 studies, NASH, fatty liver disease, and ASH. Our ASH program is being run by the NIH. It's one of the only 3 of 27 programs that have been picked by the NIH in ASH to be run. Again, another validation of our platform. We have revenues growing from Travelan with a successful US launch. We have a pipeline that is progressing, that is targeting multi-billion-dollar indications and assets. We have a cap table that is really robust and financials that are robust as well. We're debt-free, and we have cash. We have cash to last us until the completion of a NASH trial, the end of 2016. And so we have significant room for valuation upside compared to our NASH peer companies, and obviously have some big companies in there like Intercept, et cetera. But when you look at the kind of average and the median companies, the valuation of those companies that are playing in the field, the average being $800 million in valuation, and we are sitting at about $40 million today. So we have a lot of upside for valuation for investors. The story is the same for C. diff. There is a valuation gap between where we are and what we know we can do with that asset and where other companies are. As I mentioned, we have strong financials. We have no debt. We have quite a bit of cash on hand. We're both traded in Australia, and also we obviously have our QB listing in the US under the ticker IMROY. Now, if I spend just a few minutes on the pipeline, on the slide number 8, I'll just talk really about two major programs, NASH, fatty liver disease, and C. difficile. I will not be talking about diabetes program today, but obviously we are an inflammatory pathway. We're an inflammatory platform. We think we have quite a bit of data in diabetes that is really compelling, and we will be pushing in diabetes as well. But focusing on NASH and C. difficile, on slide number 9, starting with NASH, you'll see here a slide that shows the pathway and pathogenesis and our mechanism of action in NASH. It's a very busy slide with a lot of data in it. I think the key takeaway is here that we are an inflammatory company. We impact the systemic and the local inflammation that injures the liver, and by decreasing that overall inflammation, we're able to improve liver function and fibrosis. And this is something that no other companies can do. Now, we have quite a bit of evidence to really back this up. On slide number 10 is our mouse model, and on the left you can see a fibrotic liver, and on the right is a treated liver with IMM 124E, and the difference between the two livers is purely is very dramatic, and this is a study that has been peer reviewed and published. We can also see on slide number 11 more evidence of that anti-fibrotic effect that we see by the improvement of the fibrosis scores, which in the preclinical studies were highly statistically significant, and also an improvement of the inflammation markers in our Immuron model. And so, both it ties nicely to our mechanism of action, which is impacts inflammation and therefore also fibrosis. On slide number 12, I have a few data on our phase 1/2, phase 1/2A, which involved 10 patients. And again, here we can see very clearly, although over a 30-day period, they improve liver enzyme levels, and also an improvement of a lot of the inflammatory markers that we're looking for those 2 days, including HbA1c, which was statistically significant in only 10 patients over a 30-day period. That study was published as well, and therefore we've really shown that we do improve liver function and insulin resistance as well, which is very exciting for us as we're moving forward. On slide number 13, just a very quick discussion around the major commercial opportunity that we face in NASH and why we're so excited about it. It is a very large market. There are no treatments approved. And a lot of major pharma companies are looking to kind of take advantage of that opportunity. And so both from a market perspective and a business development perspective, we sit in a kind of at a crossroads, and we look to take advantage of those opportunities. To move on to our 529 program in C. difficile. On slide number 15, we all recognize that C. difficile is a significant unmet need. Just in the US, according to the CDC, there have been 14,000 deaths last year with C. diff, costing the healthcare system about $1 billion a year. And the threat to really control C. difficile is really urgent, and more therapy just needs to come onto the market. Now we've created a toxin B vaccine that's really been specifically designed and developed to just defeat C. diff. We're actually a combination of 3 vaccines that targets three major aspects of C. diff: the toxin B, the spores in C. diff, and the vegetative cells, and the spores and the vegetative cells make it particularly hard for current treatments to just eliminate C. diff from the body, but it's something that we do. So in our mouse models, we're still in preclinical studies, both our prophylaxis and our treatment models just show 80% effectiveness in a monotherapy, which is incredibly high. We are doing a recurrence model in the fourth quarter of 2016. And at the end of that, we will have the data to move forward with an IND and jump into a phase 1/2 in the first half of 2016. So we're very excited about this program, both from a commercial perspective because the unmet need is so high, and then from a technical perspective where we have an asset that we designed in a very clever way to just go specifically after C. diff. I think I would be amiss not to talk about Travelan a little bit because it is a product that is generating revenues for us, and therefore extremely important. It's generating free cash flow. On slide 18, a summary slide on Travelan. It is the only therapy that prevents traveler's diarrhea up to 90% of the time. That study has been published as well. And the way it works is it binds to the E. coli bacteria, prevents it from attaching to the gut or the wall, and it gets flushed out by your body, and therefore preventing infection. It is marketed in the U.S. and Australia by Immuron, and in Canada by Paladin and Endo. And the reason why we're so excited about it is it's a very safe product. It's a safe product. It's all natural. It's clinically proven. We're basically playing in a white space where there are very few treatments available, and we're excited by both the geographic expansion of Travelan, but also by the life cycle opportunities from a product perspective that we could do with that asset. There's just a lot of different things that we can do with Travelan that we're very excited that can drive revenues for us in the future. On slide number 19, this is a slide summarizing where we are in each geography. Obviously, the biggest win for us in 2015, our calendar year of 2015, was a launch in the US, and we have secured a master distributor, and we've also looked at a couple of other contracts as well. And so it's moving very, very well. And we're going through the regulatory process in China as well. We feel very good about the progress and how we're systematically pushing that product forward in different geographies. In summary, on slide number 21, I would just want to repeat that slide again. We are a massively undervalued opportunity when you take a look at all of the other NASH companies and C. diff companies. We have 2 phase 2 assets in development. In high value indications. We've got revenues coming from Travelan. We've got a pipeline that's progressing well. We've got a robust cap table and financials, and we're just very excited about the future. I want to thank you for your time, and look forward to the Q&A session in a couple of minutes.
Okay, we're now opening the line for our Q&A session with Immuron, the ticker symbol in Australia, IMC. Here in the US, ticker symbol is IMROY on the OTCQB. And presenting with the Q&A here, we have Thomas Liquard, CEO. Welcome, Thomas.
Well, thank you for having me today. I appreciate it.
We definitely like having you here as well. You have a lot of great things going on with Immuron. And we're going to jump right into the first question. Can you talk a little bit about the trial design for your phase 2 trial in NASH?
Sure, that's an excellent question. So we have we're planning to enroll 120 patients, all biopsy-proven NASH patients. We currently have 32 patients enrolled, which is very, very nice progress that we're making in our enrollment. We have sites in the US, Israel, and Australia with an overweighted site in the US because we want to make sure that from an FDA perspective we have the right data package. Our endpoints are fat fraction as confirmed by an MRI and liver enzymes level or ALT levels. And those are two very common endpoints in the phase 2 for a NASH trial. It is a double-blinded placebo-controlled trial, and we have 3 arms. We have a control arm, obviously, we have a high-dose arm, and we have a low-dose arm, and all 3 of these arms will have 40 patients in each arm.
Thank you, Thomas. And our next question, can you talk about the potential market opportunity in C. difficile?
Yeah, so I addressed that in the presentation just a little bit, but it is one of the major unmet need today. Certainly from a hospital treatment perspective. I mean, C. difficile has been a very tough disease to beat, and certainly costing the healthcare sectors and thousands of lives every single year. So the CDC reported about 14,000 deaths in the U.S. a year just due to C. difficile. So it is really a disease that needs to be beaten, and it's been difficult to find treatments that really work against C. diff because the toxin is very aggressive, and it has spores and vegetative cells that stay in the body for a long time, and therefore the disease recur. Merck has betted heavily in that area. They have a toxin B program that just finished phase 3. But we believe that we have just a more potent technology because not only do we target the toxin B and we bind to the toxin B, which clears the toxins out of the body, but we also target the spores and the vegetative cells. And so, our mouse models are very encouraging, and we want to try to jump into our phase 1 as quickly as possible. But it is a huge opportunity, and certainly $1 billion market for us if we can get there.
Thank you, Thomas. And our next question: what are the major near-term milestones that investors can look forward to?
I think there are several of them. I mean, certainly for our C. diff program, we are running our recurrence model in mice now, and so our preclinical model should end by December 2015, very, very early in 2016. And depending on the results, we want to go into a phase 1/2 in 1H 2016, and certainly we are already planning to do that, to basically start our phase 1/2 in the first half of 2016. From a NASH perspective, we aim to end recruiting of the NASH program by June 2016, so middle of next year, and to have the results of the trial at the end of 2016, December 16, or early 2017. And obviously, that would be a major milestone for the company and our investors. From a Traveland perspective, we are. I think investors can expect some near-term signing of new distribution agreements in the U.S. We're working very hard to close a couple of new distribution agreements. So those are in the near term. And then from a China perspective, we are waiting for approval from the CFDA. So the submission has already been submitted, and as soon as the approval is granted, Liquard, our partner, will start selling almost immediately, both to hospitals and to the retail segment. And then we also have a scientific collaboration that we're working on that we're hoping to have some really good news in the near term as well.
Very good. A lot of exciting things coming up for investors to keep an eye on.
Yeah, yes, and maybe one more. It is our obviously our NASDAQ listing that we're targeting for the first quarter of 2016. That's obviously would be a major milestone for us, as we could access the U.S. capital market, which I think for Australian companies is something that needs to be done. The U.S. is the largest capital markets in biotech. All of the major investors are here, and it's very, very important for us to attain that visibility and that liquidity, so we can benefit all of our investors, those in the U.S. and those in Australia as well.
Absolutely. Trading on the NASDAQ will definitely increase the visibility with investors and hopefully a very positive impact on the valuation. Our next question, what are your growth plans for Travelon in the U.S. as well as in China?
So we talked about that just a little bit, but maybe for just particularly talking about Travelon growth in the U.S., I think there are three aspects here. You've got the marketing aspect, the sales aspect, and the product development aspect. From a marketing perspective, we're refreshing all the packaging. We're refreshing our messages, and that's very, very important because we want to make sure that we go to the market with the right messages. And so that's something that we're working on, and that we expect from a marketing perspective to just pay a lot of dividends. From a sales perspective, I talked about that a little bit. We are negotiating new distribution agreements. We're looking at new channels. We're looking at new partners, and so we're very, very aggressive on that front, obviously, because we want to we have some pretty aggressive revenue targets for Travelon in the U.S. And then from a product development perspective, it's important not to stand pat. We have Travelon, but we can do different versions of Travelon with different pathogens, and so we're looking at product expansion lines as well that we can launch in the U.S. and in other markets. From a China perspective, as I said, we're waiting for CFD approval. But Liquard, our partner in China, has a very wide reach in China, both in the hospitals, with consumers, in their e-commerce platform, and through their sales force. And so as soon as we get approval, we're just expecting to have a massive push in the China market. Obviously, we don't know when that approval is coming. It's under review, but obviously, as soon as we have some news, we'll let the market know.
Very good. Another thing for us to keep an eye on. Our next question: besides fatty liver disease, what other diseases are you targeting?
That's also a very good question. Look, we are an inflammation-mediated platform, and so we are targeting inflammatory-mediated diseases, and we have some very good data in diabetes, for example. In our phase 1 trial, we saw a massive reduction in HbA1c in only 30 days, and HbA1c is the gold standard by which you measure the treatment effectiveness in diabetes. So we're very encouraged in diabetes, and we're working on some protocols so we could get a phase 1/2 going as quickly as possible, because we think we have a tremendous opportunity there, and obviously everybody knows the level of unmet need that we have in diabetes today, really across the world, not just in the U.S. but in China as well, which is a huge unmet need in China. So we believe that diabetes is one of the key areas that we want to go into, and certainly are exploring very, very aggressively. And then we have other kind of GI-mediated diseases like colitis that we are targeting as well. We think we believe that the mechanism of action could really work there. And in colitis, again, you've got the TNF alpha, and besides that, there really aren't much to really treat colitis. And so we are very excited about the prospect in colitis and in other kind of GI-mediated diseases. We just feel it's really a wide open field for us, and that we can make a tremendous difference and generate additional value for investors.
Very good, Thomas. And we have just under 2 minutes left. I guess in summary, you've covered a lot of great information both in the presentation and here in the Q&A.
Thank you.
What's the main key takeaway that investors should have about the Immuron story?
Yeah, look, from a pure investor upside perspective, as I said in presentation, and maybe covered in some of the questions. I mean, we have tremendous programs with tremendous upside that are based on a very fundamentally solid platform. And I think that's what, as an investor, I would certainly look at. I think it's important to, to have a really good connection between different data points. We have very strong preclinical data. We've got some confirmatory data in phase 1 in NASH. We have, we see a very good decline of all inflammatory markers and fibrosis markers in our preclinical models. And so we have very strong data that points us in the right direction. And certainly all of the trials that we're doing will just increase the market confidence in our trials. I think secondly, we are generating revenues, and that's very rare for a biotech, and those are growing revenues. We just launched in the U.S. We already have a strong distribution agreement. We are going to sign some more. We are waiting for the approval in China, so we are going to generate additional revenues from Traveland, and I think again it puts us in a very unique position from a biotech perspective, and we are in a solid financial position, and obviously we are aiming to just take advantage of a position on the Nasdaq starting in the first quarter of next year. At least that's our target. So, overall, a lot of growth potential across a lot of different vectors, and I think that's very good for our investors.
Very good, and that actually takes us to our allotted time. For our investors, viewers, we were just talking with Thomas Liquard, the CEO of Immuron. You can find out more about Immuron right at redchip.com. Also sign up for email alerts, because as you can tell from the presentation and the Q&A, there's a lot of great things coming on online for Immuron here in the coming months and quarters. That will keep you up to date on all the news as it comes out.